This is the weekend edition of Fear and Greed, daily business news for people who make their own decisions. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, our weekend show is obviously vastly different. It is a completely different beast to the weekday show. It is about the two of us each nominating what we think is the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, and then our favourite story. And it is a competition. We need to win. Well, one of us needs to win. We can't both win. And to do that, we need a judge. That judge every week, or most weeks actually, not every week, and I'll come to that in a second. That judge is our Fear and Greed colleague, Adam Lang. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, Michael.
Look, last week, I was judging.
Shambles. Absolute shambles. The show went for 46 minutes. We're trying to do 30-minute shows. Michael, the judge, therefore he speaks less than the competitors. What happened? 50% longer.
No. What happened was, Sean, finally, we had somebody willing to impose law and order on this program.
46 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes justice takes time, Sean.
I apologise to listeners out there who thought they were in for a 30-minute listen. They got 46 minutes. Now, obviously, every word a gem, so I'm sure everyone kept it that 46 minutes. Today, though, 30 minutes, guaranteed.
Yeah, all right, let's do it. That's our challenge. We're going to keep this short. Adam, with brevity in mind, what are you looking for today in your judging criteria?
Okay, topicality, obviously. Timeliness has to be from this week. Economic impact has to be related to business. It has to play to my pure subjective bias a little bit, and a good dose of melodrama, I hope.
I love that you say obviously after a few of those categories. There's nothing obvious about your judging criteria, and there's nothing obvious about the way that they are implemented. Last week, I introduced demerit points for misbehaviour, and I'm just saying that was received very, very well. Not by either of you two, but by...
Well, I ended up with 4 demerit points and I still won. Adam, go on.
By a landslide. Tim Burrows, he was rewarding sledging.
He was rewarding sledging.
Yeah.
Oh,
so we've had some variety.
That's misbehaviour. I would have penalised that. Goodness me, maybe Tim and I should just judge each other and we'll just penalise each other all over the place. Well, that sounds...
Moving on. I'm going to tell you the biggest story of the week because I do not want to go anywhere where Michael's mind is going at the moment. Biggest story of the week, Adam. One of the biggest stories of the year, I reckon. Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers directed the Future Fund to prioritise investments in housing, renewables, energy and infrastructure. He told the Future Fund how to invest. It's the first time in the 15-year history that the government's actually mandated 15 years, like 18 years. 18-year history, how the government's mandated how the Future Fund should invest.
Your credibility is shot now, Sean. Just
15 to 18 years, yep, that's right.
Yep.
$230 billion fund. Jim Chalmers said, we're going to tell the Future Fund how to invest, but it won't come at the expense of performance, and we are committed to its independence and commercial focus. Hello? That's not how it works, Jim. Holy cow. Established in 2006 by the Howard government, the idea was to pay for federal government employee pensions. A new mandate says the Future Fund must consider Australia's national priorities, stuff like residential housing, supporting the energy transition and delivering improved infrastructure. I have no issues with any of those. They're really important national priorities, but call it what it is. Don't actually try and lie to us and say, hey, let's just change the mandate and the returns will be the same. Say we're going to use the Future Fund from really important stuff and be upfront about it. I actually have no problems with that. Now, the Future Fund doesn't have members. It's only got one member, really, which is the Australian government, which is actually every one of us. Michael, settle, chill. It's a bit different to this.
You should just penalise him. Adam, penalise him.
Or you for interrupting, Michael.
Thank you, Adam.
Because he's using deliberately suggestive language. Talking about the Future Fund having one member.
Well, that's hardly a first.
Oh, hello. Goodness me.
Super funds, $4 trillion industry, millions of members, no doubt. However, the superannuation, Jim Chalmers wants the superannuation funds to put money into some of these ideas too. How you childish boys. The thing is, a super fund is legislated to look after the members' financial interest, whereas the not the future fund, the superannuation funds are. The future funds, I'm totally lost. End of the day, right? It's a good idea or not. Costello, the former chair, says no. David Murray, the first chair, he said, like, basically investment returns more vulnerable. Everyone loses in an interventionist world. Anytime you put restrictions on investing, it can hurt returns. Sometimes that's a good thing, right? I don't want to invest in tobacco companies. I think that you should invest more in ESG issues like that, right? But call it for what it is, Jim Chalmers. Don't say, oh, we're doing this and it won't hurt returns. You're lying. The fund's actually done really well. It's averaging about 8.3% over the past decade. The thing I'm worried about, a bit of a slippery slope this. You start playing around with it, who knows where it goes. Michael, get your mind off the members. Biggest story of the week for you.
Gotta say, that was very long, Sean. Oh, dear. That was unintended. Your story took a long time to cover. There we go. How's that? Whew. We are trying to do it in 30 minutes or under, and you have used, 20% of our time in just one story.
Have you actually made ground on your story yet?
Yeah, I don't think so. Don't think we've started
This
yet.
isn't about me. This is, you know what?
It is your turn.
Demerit. You both now have one demerit.
Thanks. Give him one week's judging and off he goes.
Oh, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. Biggest story this week is actually all about culture. 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 I'll say it again. Culture. Rio Tinto this week. And I know that I'm appealing to your subjective bias here, Adam, because this is something that you live and breathe, good corporate culture.
Stop sucking up to the judge. Get on with the story, mate.
I'm not sucking up. That would be dishonourable, and I have to demerit myself. Rio Tinto released, this is part 2 of its report into workplace culture at the miner. This is a long, ongoing process. They are 2 years now into this whole process. This has been a long-term commitment to fixing a lot of the problems of the past and the present at Rio Tinto. So Liz Broderick, who is, of course, the former Sex Discrimination Commissioner, conducted a massive survey of 11,600 staff, more than 1,300 interviews. There are a lot of written submissions and everything as well. Just assessing where Rio was up to with its cultural transformation. Bullying is still systemic. Racism and sexual harassment are common, but there were signs of positive change. Half of respondents said that things are better. There were more reported cases of harassment and racism. So it was kind of like there was a bit of good news, a bit of bad news, but what there was transparency. A little bit of an odd kind of development. And Sean, you kind of talked a bit about this during the week, the backlash against the company's efforts to promote gender diversity and inclusion. There are some men now claiming that they feel undervalued and overlooked, kind of a form of reverse discrimination or something. Overall, though,
I've got to interrupt here, right? Do you know what's quite funny? The men are out there saying, I feel undervalued and overlooked. Well, hello.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of being a woman for the last 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. The fact is, to me, Rio deserves to be applauded for what they are doing. They are 2 years, as I mentioned, into a long-term program. And it's not just that they're doing it, it is the fact that they are doing it so publicly. They are making the reports available publicly. They are a massive company. And it does have the ability to lead the way almost on cultural accountability after a very, very, very problematic past, right? And culture has obviously been such a big issue in recent weeks. Think Nine, think WiseTech Global, think Mineral Resources. This story, I would say, is an extraordinary demonstration of the cultural reckoning that has now arrived for Australian companies. Led this week by Rio Tinto.
One thing I'd like to add to this, because we spoke to Liz about this, well, not actually about this report, earlier in the week we spoke to her, and she made the comment to Michael and I that she'd been in the Gobi Desert interviewing people. Wow. Like, Rio went that far. Now, then made me think, where exactly is the Gobi Desert, right? Adam, question for you, Mr. Powderfinger. Where is the Gobi Desert?
It's in South Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, nice start. Ouch.
Yeah.
It's in Asia.
And yeah, firstly, let's go out of the country. Why
is she in the Gobi Desert then?
This is the highlight of the weekend edition ever. Why is she in the Gobi Desert then? So, that's actually really got me going. The Gobi Desert, Michael, do you know what the Gobi Desert is? I suspect you do.
It's largely in Mongolia.
Yeah,
a big
Mongolia,
chunk of it.
China.
And that's where there is a big...
In Rio have operations in Mongolia.
A massive facility there, don't they?
A massive facility there.
So did this report expand around the world, not just Australia?
You got to listen to Fear and Greed more often, Adam. Then you'd understand.
I did listen to that interview.
You know what?
Awkward moment.
That is personal sledging.
Excellent.
Adam, join with me. Demerit. Demerit. Just say it. It feels good. Demerit.
Anyway,
Sean Demerit Aylmer.
My point, Liz Broderick was in the Gobi Desert, so in out of Mongolia, interviewing people as part of this report. And, I mean, she didn't say it, but you've got to give it to Rio for at least having a crack, trying to work out what's going on. Michael said that. I like the transparency. Anyway, over to you, Judge Lang.
You've endeared me very well, Sean.
That's
now,
right.
Crush him.
Yeah.
God, both are such big stories. So, Michael, culture.
Oh, don't do me first. Whoever goes first always loses. It's like a negotiation, isn't it? Yeah.
So, Sean.
Yes, better. Yep.
Future Fund. Right. So on the one hand, we've got culture, which is so, so important to everybody. However, this change by the Future Fund direction, I think it is an intervention by government, and I don't think it's allowing the independence and the free flow of the market. And so I think it was a very interesting choice. But I'm going to do the double however on this one. I'm going to call it a draw, because they're both such interesting stories. Really, I think quite controversial by the government to direct the Future Fund. And I really have to applaud Rio Tinto. So, yes, we're making progress, but geez, we've got a long way to go.
I'm very, 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 very seldom am I satisfied with a draw.
I would say never.
In fact, never. And I am today. And I looked at Michael and he's like, well, that's a fair call. Like, I think both stories are really important.
They're great stories.
I personally thought I should have won. And when I factor in your 2 demerit points, I technically did. Now, most remarkable story.
Go for it, Michael. Go for it. Quickly, please.
Keeping it brief because we are we're almost halfway through the allotted time. This is not good. So I'm going to keep it brief. It is summit season. Everyone's favourite season.
Summit season? What's that mean?
It's summit season when they hold all the international summits. You know, like the G20 and APEC and all of those ones.
They wear the special T-shirts.
Yeah.
Shirts.
It's good fun. Everyone's favourite season. Infinitely better than, say, spring or summer or any of those nonsense times of year. Summit season. And it has been both remarkable and remarkably unremarkable at the same time. Allow me to explain why.
Yeah. You're going to have to.
Please do.
Prime Minister Anthony Albanese attended APEC in Peru, which is, of course, the home of Paddington Bear. What? It's true. Factually accurate.
Thank you.
You know Michael's in trouble when he just starts to bring in obscure things like Paddington Bear comes from Peru.
Well, can I stay on topic then, on the topic of Peru? Did you see the bloke caught this month at customs at the airport in Peru?
There's more than one. Lima.
At the Lima airport, let's say. I'm assuming it was. And so, anyway, he had strapped to himself 300 tarantulas that he was smuggling through customs.
Not live ones.
Yeah, live ones. Yeah, they were all in like the little containers or jars and all these things, and like just like waddling through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
Really cool.
Bizarre.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
they
not
haven't
cool.
identified him. I'm going to assume that it was not Anthony Albanese.
Back on track.
Highly
Back on track.
unorthodox for the Prime Minister to be smuggling spiders. We obviously had the PM attending APEC in Peru, then the G20 in Brazil. First, the remarkable, the big push towards free trade deals. Overall, this commitment towards free trade at APEC. Everyone was talking about it, despite the fact that in 7 weeks, Donald Trump becomes president and has pledged tariffs galore the exact opposite of free trade.
Why do you reckon they were talking about it, Michael?
Yeah, but can I just do this briefly? I really want to do this fast.
Please.
No interruptions. Demerit pen. I've got it hovering. I'm going to give you one. I can remove it if I need to. The global security side as well, US President Joe Biden shaking hands with Xi Jinping. That's good, but see above, obviously Donald Trump coming in and everything can change potentially in 6.5 weeks. Okay, so there we've got kind of obviously trade, we've got global security. Then at the G20, we had Albo sitting down with President Xi, who said that all Chinese tariffs and other restrictions on $22 billion worth of Australian goods were now officially going to be removed. All right, so great, fantastic. Excellent for Australia. In exchange, though, China wants more access for Chinese companies investing into Australia. That is the definition of a diplomatic pickle to me. Oh. Finally, all of that is remarkable, right? Because of the impact on global security, on the global economy, and the Australian economy. There we go. Tick, 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 tick. Ticked all of your boxes there, Adam. To the remarkably unremarkable, just how weak these bodies are and have been in this particular summit season at committing to any kind of meaningful global action. Take the G20 final communique. Russia, China, and India essentially allowed to keep polluting beyond 2050. Little direction about the war in the Middle East. Russia and Ukraine, not even mentioned. I think this is genuinely remarkable that an event that should have global impact, bring about meaningful permanent change for the betterment of the entire planet, instead had no impact whatsoever. So that's what I mean, that it is remarkably unremarkable how little they were able to actually achieve at these things. So there you go. That is my story, done in record time. Just 38 seconds.
What was it about?
Yeah, lots of things. Do you want me to rehash?
No.
I'm happy to summarize. I reckon
I
could summarize in about the same time it took me to do the story. Record time.
Good. Let me move on. I'm not sure what Michael's talking about. I think he was talking about some theoretical trade thingamajig. I'm talking about real life cross-border transactional stuff.
Yeah, tarantulas. I was talking about that too.
Yeah, well, actually, that was interesting, that part of it.
Yeah, that was cross-border transactions.
The world's largest packaging group, Amcor, which, did you know that it began as a paper miller on the banks of the Yarra River in Melbourne back in the 1860s?
Wow. How many legs would 300 tarantulas have?
When it moved to the New York Stock Exchange, Adam, you at least have to pretend that you're listening.
What did you say? Adam?
About 2,400, isn't it? You know,
did you just do that in your head? Adam, human calculator, Lang. Whoa. I'm assuming there'd be a couple that have got some missing, though. Sorry, Sean.
Are you guys interested in the show or not?
I'm kind of more interested in spiders, to be honest.
I'm interested in Sean's story.
No, I'm very put out now. Very put out. Amcor.
Sorry.
1860.
Good Australian company or origins.
Listed in New York back in 2019 because it spent about $7 billion US buying a company called Bemis Co. Anyway, it has made a bid for Berry, which is another big packaging group. If successful, 400 packaging plants, 75,000 staff around the world, the biggest deal on the market, or at least the ASX. It's secondary trading is on the ASX, so we're going to include it. But the biggest deal second biggest deal, because AirTrunk was bought by Blackstone. So in terms of Australian companies, second biggest deal, private or public, all year. Amcor's all about flexible packaging, Berry about rigid. I've lost interest in the story, totally. What I do want to say, though, Adam, massive deal, and it's another story of Aussie company doing well. Between you two fools.
Is it a big package of a deal, Sean?
It's a package of a deal, that's right, flexible. I want you two to give me 4 companies that are massive, 4 large companies that have done well overseas in the last 10 years.
CSL.
Yep.
Canva.
Atlassian.
Yep.
Visy.
James Hardy.
A bit longer. James Hardy I'll throw in, yeah. Yeah, anyway, I get the point.
Aristocrat Leisure.
Yeah, I
Poker
like
Machines.
Yep.
Cochlear.
Yep. Yep. Michael's got my notes in front of him.
What?
Unfair advantage. Unfair advantage. There you go, Adam. Massive
Go
story.
Australia.
$13 billion. This is, for a listed company, biggest one of the year, et cetera, et cetera. It's actually got something real and tangible about my story.
I'm going to try and throw you with my howevers this week. Michael has his double butt and his triple butt. I'm going to throw.
I'm sorry. Please don't
you
comment
all
on my
with
butts.
Okay.
He's more
Starting
of a
with
member,
Sean,
man.
ripping Australian story. However, Michael, remarkably unremarkable. Geez, don't these gatherings just prove to be a good exercise for people to have chats? Like, Sean, you wrote about this in your newsletter this week. They're good that they happen because the chats happen and they're booked in the calendar, but not a lot happens at the actual meeting.
Soft.
So back to the however, Sean wins. Love the Amcor story. Absolutely love it. Remarkable success in business. Well played.
Excellent. 1-0, Michael.
It's
Keep
not
down.
1-0. It's one and a half.
1.5
To half. Don't
To
rob
half.
me of the half point that I fought for.
Subject to Michael's demerits.
We'll be back in a moment with the rest of the show.
All right, Sean, we're looking for a sleeper story. A sleeper being a story that is flying under the radar a little bit, not getting the attention that we feel it deserves, and whose fuse has been lit this week.
So do you know what's happened this week where the fuse has been lit and not getting the attention it really deserves?
Yes, please.
It's the fact that we three are wearing spectacularly good T-shirts this week. We have, who's that? Diesel. Michael's wearing a
on
Diesel
mine.
T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, you got a Powderfinger. I've got a Paul Kelly T-shirt. Why are we wearing these, Adam? You bought them for us.
Oz Music T-shirt Day next Thursday. Get to the website, support Oz Music, artists who continue to have careers where they're challenged. Sometimes, if you remember COVID, where they couldn't earn money at all. And now they are back on the road again. But geez, there's plenty of falling on hard times. So culturally very important music in my life, and I know yours too. So let's support our Australian music industry and particularly the artists themselves. So get on board to Oz Music T-shirt Day, buy a T-shirt, wear it proud, get to a gig.
Let's not make it a sleeper story. My sleeper story for the week. Have you guys noticed this week how all these market economists, and we love the market economists, they're our friends, just quietly, just putting out these little notes saying, we know he said there'd be a rate cut in February. We're going to push back to May, maybe a bit later. This week we had National Australia Bank push back till May at the earliest. Lucy Ellis from Westpac, she used to be the chief economist of the Reserve Bank. She's pushed back at least May, so it could be further. The consensus view has gone to May, well, actually at least May. Markets are pricing in a rate cut by September. What happened specifically this week is that the Reserve Bank board minutes came out. It showed that the Reserve Bank wants 2 quarters, not months, 2 quarters of low inflation figures. We haven't got that yet. We know that. So the next potential to get that is January, and then the one after that is April. So if they're both low, then we might get a rate cut in May. This is a sleeper story because we're not really talking about the fact that the whole view, I mean, if you're in the market, you probably know, but the rest of us, we're not talking about rates. We're not talking about the fact that market economists and bond investors now don't think there's going to be another rate cut until the middle of next year. That's 12 months after many people thought they should kick in. Inflation being the problem, not even guaranteed we're going to have one then. I think it's a great sleeper story because interest rates affect all of us. Well, not all of us, but most of us. And brief. Michael.
It wasn't brief.
What I like about that is the only thing against that story you could say wasn't brief.
Well, no, I was just pointing it out. And I was trying to do it quietly and subtly so that it almost didn't look like I said anything and that Adam would think that it was inside his own head and then he had to write it down. It's basically a psychological manipulation.
Form of ventriloquism.
Yeah, pretty much. Look, my sleeper story, I would like to point out that it is just exactly a week now, since our best ever judge handed down a sterling decision in this category. That was obviously me as the judge. Awarding Sean full points points, minus demerits, obviously, for a cracker of a story about the blowtorch being applied to super funds. It was a great story. But brace yourself. What's that look for, Adam?
Well, first you slam the existing judge, and then you still haven't got into your sleeper story.
It's not a criticism of existing judges to recognise that other judges were best.
Superior.
Only in your mind, Michael. Only in your mind. Get into it. Come on. I'm trying to hurry us along. I've got to guarantee 30 minutes here, and I tell you what, we're up against it.
We are certainly up against it. There's another super story. I'm going to keep this one short because it is very, very, very different, but it is
another super story. Go on.
Yes, but it is a different super story. It's still about superannuation, but it's because the thing is, it is not dull. It is vitally important and affects every single one of us, and it's not getting the attention that it deserves because the government has flagged changes to how retirees will be able to use their superannuation. Superannuation. It feels like I put too many syllables into that. But they are hoping that the funds will offer more innovative products. The government wants reforms, basically, so that super funds can make payments in installments rather than upfront large sums, and also provide money-back guarantees. Now, these are reforms for the decumulation stage. Obviously, the accumulation stage has been the focus for so long, it's been fine-tuned, but there's enormous room for improvement in what happens next. What happens next to all of us who are retiring? I say that as though I am retiring, but I'm still quite some distance from that. So it is in my interest and all of our interests to see that this is sorted out. The fuse was lit this week for reform. Reform. Feel that, Adam, deep in your bones. You love reform. 2.5 million Australians retire in the next decade. That's just 10 years. 2.5 million. That is a buttload of people that are affected by this.
Oh, you like that, don't you?
It's a hecton of people that are affected by this. This is a $4 trillion sector. There is no way that this story cannot win. As a former esteemed judge myself, I would impartially give it full marks, and I would offer myself my most sincere congratulations. Well done, Michael. You've done us proud.
Sean wins. I'm getting on with it.
Thanks. Let's moving on.
Full plop.
Favourite story of the week? Would you go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Oh, I don't know. I need some time to sulk. You go first.
My favourite story, bloke called Justin Sun, S-U-N. I hope I got the pronunciation there, right? He's the Chinese founder of crypto platform Tron, T-R-O-N. He's got a lot of money. This week, he paid $6.2 million US. Let's talk Aussie dollars. $10 million for an artwork out of an auction in New York. It was a banana taped to a wall. And it's worth looking up. It's just a bit of duct tape over a banana on a wall, and that's it.
Oh. It's got artistic merit, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the pre-sale estimate was $1.5 million, or up to $1.5 million. He paid $6 million. This is US. So obviously, what I liked about, the piece itself is known as Comedian, which has to be ironic. I liked the way Sun described it. I quote, "It's not just an artwork, it represents a cultural phenomenon that bridges the worlds of art, memes, and the cryptocurrency community." Even better, when asked, what are you going to do with it? His response, "I plan to eat the banana in coming days as part of this unique artistic experience, honouring its place in both art history and popular culture." Full stop. Oh my God. What do you say about people with too much money? Michael, your favourite story.
Right. Okay. Adam, I know we are really up against it for time, but just remembering the criteria that you were looking for, economic impact, all that kind of stuff. I want to talk about markets because I love markets. I love the fact that there are records everywhere. Records being broken, records falling. It has been a record-breaking bonanza this week. The ASX hit a new record high this week. Our biggest company, Commonwealth Bank, hit a record high this week. Other companies at or near record highs throughout the week. They're just like the ASX was littered with records. And like they are big companies that were either at or near these highs, like kind of Goodman Group and Qantas and REA and JB Hi-Fi and WiseTech Global. It did take a bit of a tumble towards the end of the week. Let's not go into too much detail on that one. Xero as well. It is positively bursting with records. Obviously, a lot of confidence on Wall Street and lower taxes under Donald Trump, the potential for that to happen, the hope, somewhat diminishing, of imminent interest rate cuts. You put it all into the fear and greed KitchenAid, right? and it is giving investors a bit of hope. And that matters to all of us, particularly those of us with superannuation, all that kind of thing. Just one more record, of course, Bitcoin soaring, hitting a new record high. Gold is booming. It just keeps on going. It's just amazing. But look, you know what? In a week of so many records, just another record like Bitcoin, it's just kind of like white noise, isn't it? A little bit like me towards the end of an episode of the weekend edition. So I humbly submit this to you, second best judge of all time.
Well, Tim Burrows is pretty good.
That's right, third.
Yeah,
Jen does a good job too. The Kook? Look, you know what, Adam? You are definitely, you're in the top 5.
Sherelle Murphy's been brilliant.
You're in the top 6. Give us your judgment, bro.
Okay.
Can I just add, before the judgment comes, right, we've done pretty well. We're almost at 30 minutes, only over a little bit. Please take into account that Michael this week has spent a lot of time on his socials sitting in the backyard with that cute little puppy he's just got. Outrageous.
Oh, yes, Monty.
He's a bit cute.
Welcome, Monty.
Yeah. Head along to Michael Thompson Author on Instagram. Follow me.
Just relentless.
Check out my pics.
Nauseating.
No, it's not nauseating. It's justified. Adam.
So, look, we're talking about Oz Music T-shirt Day earlier. Favourite story, Sean. Good nomination. It's one way to support the arts, isn't it? Spend $1 million on a banana. Or, sorry, I should say 6.2 million US, 10 million Aussie on a banana. One way to support the arts. The fact that the markets are winning as they are amongst all of this turmoil around the world, to me, is my favourite story of the week. So well done, Michael.
Thank you, Adam. And May, so what's that? 2 all?
No, 2.5 to Sean, 1.5 to you.
Okay. And then what did it come down to on the points?
You had a fairly good 88 points.
Oh, that's good.
Sean had a even more fairly good 92 points.
Oh, no. Even with my 3 demerit points that I gave him as we went. He still won.
But what about, who do you take my judges' demerit points off? Both of you or neither?
No, they go into it to running tally.
A bank?
I'm gonna add them up across the
annual
many
bank
weeks
of demerits.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, and at the end of the year, I'll let you know what your annual tally was. Adam, this year you lost 47 demerit points. And yeah, it really has no bearing on anything, but it should be fun at the Fear and Greed Christmas party.
It's kind of those with the most demerit points from Michael wins, in a way.
Even when we're trying to get to 30 minutes, we've finished the show. You two are carrying on. Thanks very much for being part of it. Nice to speak to you both. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Sean. Thank you, Adam. And look, don't forget to hit follow on the podcast. Head along to our social media as well. Follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. Send us a little note if you want to be involved on fearandgreed.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson. That was Fear and Greed. Have a great weekend.
Buy a T-shirt for Oz Music Day.
Yes.
It's a good cause.
Yes, very good point. Well said, Adam.
Thank you.